My name is Kim White Jenkins, and I'm the owner of Helium Studio Artist Market in Wayne, Michigan. We're going to do a spring craft today. I'm going to use the Maker Studio inks, and if you're anything like me, when you first found out about the Maker Studio stencils and used the stencils, the next thing you did is say, what else can I stencil on besides the traditional kind of wood boards or even things like tea towels and things like that. So today we're going to take some salvaged berry boxes, and we'll also take a basket like this, and we will use the art inks and the stencils, and we will transform those boxes into really pretty spring decorations. All right, we're back and we're ready to craft. I said earlier that I got some of these salvaged baskets from a dear lady on Facebook Marketplace, and I'll bet your marketplace geographies are just as interesting as ours, but I'm gonna have a lot of fun stenciling on all the things, including this salvaged market basket, and I think this would be great. I'm actually going to stencil it on both sides so I can put it in the middle of my table and it will be able to be seen from both sides, that design. We're also going to be using, in addition to that salvaged basket, the Welcome Spring stencil, and this is a really large stencil that you can cut into so many pieces. You will have a hard time deciding what pieces you want to use, but for a horizontal piece like this, and in a season like this, using the Welcome Spring piece just makes sense. So I am going to lay this down on the basket and just kind of do my best to find the middle. Now this is an irregular surface. It's got a staple here. It's got a crack in the wood here. I don't know if they would call this like a veneer or something, but it's a very, very thin sliced wood. So when we put this stencil on, it's not going to be as easy as using the spreader to spread the ink. I'm going to do something a little bit different. The spreaders have their place, and the fancy Maker Studio brushes have their place. But in the case of this surface, because it's kind of irregular, I'm going to use what I call kind of a scrubby, a scrubby brush. So it's kind of like, it's not real soft, okay? It's kind of a hard bristle brush. And what I will be doing is scrubbing the ink through to this surface. And that creates a little bit of irregularity. It creates a little rusticness. That's very cool though, that I think you will like. So there'll be a little bit of irregularity, but as I always tell people, it's only paint. You can use sandpaper to make that irregularity really charming. And in case we have to do that, we certainly will. So I'm using the Well I Declare art ink, and I'm squeezing some onto a palette over here. And I am going to put some of that ink on my brush, and we're just going to get to scrubbing. So I'm not going to tape this down. What I find with these stencils is they pretty much stay in place once you start pushing paint through them. So I'm just gonna, you might find this technique a little weird, but I'm just gonna scrub away. So here we go, scrubbing that C. Okay, I do want to make sure that the letter placement is still pretty, we don't want to mess it up just because our surface is a little wonky. for weirdo surfaces like this, it's much more effective because you're going to hit bumps with a spreader. It's much more effective to use a hard bristle brush. And do you sometimes miss spots? Do you sometimes get a wonky result? You know, sometimes, but again, sandpaper is awesome. Sandpaper can make your mistakes turn into something really charming. And I use sandpaper a lot. All right, now here's a spot where I am almost done here. A little piece of that end. Okay. And like I said, you can see that paint going through the mesh, and you know that you've hit that surface. And I'm going to enhance this. You'll see later the frond with a little bit of paint. We'll paint those leaves and those berries maybe that are coming off of it. You could always just use the words "Hello Spring" and cut these berries off, or just don't use that part of the stencil. But I think it really kind of creates a really nice finished product with those berries on there. Okay, all right, like I said, don't overwork it because you don't want to get paint that bleeds underneath the stencil. So now we're gonna do our favorite part. We're gonna pull it off. Hey, 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 pretty good, huh? So I will be back in a second. I'm going to rinse off my stencil because you want to put it right into water when you're done using it, and then I will be right back. All right, we're back. We did the big reveal. I've cleaned my stencil and I've put it back on the backing, which is the way to keep them clean and ready to use again. I've got it in front of me here because if you'll notice, there's a little bit of missing fronds over here. I mean, it's not deadly, and a little bit over here too. So I'm gonna take a fine brush and I'm gonna grab just a little bit, like I was making this brush into a pen, and I'm going to make some repairs over here. Again, they don't have to be perfect, but maybe you want that because we're gonna paint these leaves in too. So maybe you want that leaf shape to be a little more obvious. Maybe you want that stem to be a little more obvious. Grab a little more paint from my palette over here, and using my paintbrush like a little pen. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. You're stenciling on a market basket. You are going to fill some of the spaces in with paint. It doesn't have to be perfect. But I know some of us like to not have missing parts of our stencil. So we'll fill those in like that. Okay, and the other thing you can do is if that O is really bothering you, you can go in with this really narrow brush and make some fixes. So totally fixable. These little branches over here. I've got my teeny tiny brush. I've got a little bit of water. I've got my palette, and I've got some art ink. So I'm going to use Grass is Always Greener and a little bit of Well I Declare, the white. And I'm just gonna squeeze a little, just a little, on my palette. I'm actually gonna take some from over here, put it over here, because I don't need a whole lot. And I'm gonna bring some Well I Declare from over here into here, and I'm gonna mix those together. Now, if you like, you can dip your brush into water. And I've got a little yogurt jar here with water, and I can add some water to the paint here. And then, you know, when it's kind of mixed up to your, again, doesn't have to be perfect, and we don't have a lot of surface to cover, so I'm not creating a lot of paint here. So I'm gonna take little paint off the palette, and I'm gonna go into these leaves here. So just inside those white lines. Again, doesn't have to be perfect, but you see how it just adds a little something? It adds a little something. I love coloring inside the stencils. Have you tried that before? You know, it's kind of fun to, you know, if you don't have a coloring book for your little ones or for your big ones, a lot of people like to do adult coloring books. You can make a coloring book with the Maker Studio stencils and just color. Here's that leaf that we kind of made because we thought it was missing there. And here's one more funky leaf we made. We're gonna put that green there. Oh, here's another leaf. Okay. Oh, and right here's a leaf. Okay, be right back with another color. All right, I'm back with another color to color these. They might be berries or flowers, I'm not sure. This is Bless His Heart. And I'm not even going to worry about cleaning my brush. Oops. Not even gonna worry about cleaning my brush. Just gonna dip it in the water. That'll be enough of a clean. And then I'm gonna bring a little bit of the Well I Declare over into the red and make like a pink. So now let's go in these, take a little bit off there. Let's go in these little blooms and use the pink on those blooms. We like to say at Helium Studio that we help you put on your maker hat. And a Maker Studio is a big part of that. So easy to put on your maker hat when you've got these Maker Studio stencils that are really, you know, nothing's foolproof, but gosh, these are pretty foolproof stencils. Mesh stencils are the way to go. And the designs from a Maker Studio are so beautiful and really timeless. They don't go out of date. You might pick up a stencil that you bought over a year ago and find another use for it. And yet they're always coming out with new designs. So they always have new things for you to choose from. Okay, what do you think of that? So pretty. All right, I'm gonna show you what I did with another one of these at the end of the video. I'll show it to you on our mantle here. And I'm going to go to another berry basket and show you how to embellish that. Be right back. All right, next, we are going to work with one of these berry baskets. I should show you what it looked like initially. Just a plain, natural looking basket. And you could stencil on the natural baskets too. I'll show you at the end. I did a whitewash on one of them, which kind of made it really pretty. And then I did a green wash on this one with Grass is Always Greener. And I watered that down a little bit, added some white to it, and you can always create your own colors with the inks. And I'm going to add a piece of the folk art stencil. And the folk art stencil has a lot of cute small pieces. It's got a couple different bunnies. It has some birds that are facing each other. I like to use those to, I have a wedding set that I like to stencil on with those little lovebirds. But what we'll do right now, we're going to grab, again, our Well I Declare art ink. This one right here, and I'm going to squeeze some onto my palette, and I'm going to get my scrubby brush, and I'm going to scrub those bunnies right onto this little basket here. And I'm gonna start scrubbing this bunny over here. Won't take too long, and then I'll do a quick reveal. And those will be our projects for today. I hope that you thought anew about things that you can stencil on. They don't always have to be finished pieces. They can be kind of rough, rustic pieces like these berry baskets. And you'll be adding a fantastic embellishment to them. And it'll be so unexpected, right? It's so fun to give the unexpected to people. All right, so there we go. Pulling that off. Ooh, looks like this bunny. Oh no, we're good. We're good. I'm gonna add a little bit to his nose, and maybe I see what happened here. I need my teeny tiny brush again. And I'm gonna make a little, because this line is straight, and because the striations are straight, it came out great on this other side, but over here it just needed a little bit of help, so I'm gonna give it a little bit of help. And over here too, needed a little bit of help. Give him his tail. And I love that. Okay. So here are those bunnies from the folk art stencil stenciled onto a rustic berry basket that I painted all over with watered down Grass is Always Greener, and added a little white to it as well. Thank you again at Maker Studio. I'm Kim White-Jenkins from Helium Studio Artist Market, and here is our Welcome Spring basket, stenciled on both sides. And here are a couple more of these sweet berry baskets. Here's the green one we did today, and does that not totally look like spring? Of course it does. And here is something you can do with your Welcome Spring basket. You can put that on your mantle. You can add some decor. I have a couple of ceramic bunnies in here and some faux blooms. It looks so great on that mantle. Thanks again for the opportunity, and enjoy the rest of the Makerthon.